This is the CitizenLink Report.
If you find our insights helpful, would you support our video efforts? Your gift of $25 or more goes a long ways. Covers the crew, lights, cameras, all that. Just click on donate. Thanks from all of us. Another court says you cannot be pro-life and run a business in this country. And 2 more colleges sue their country for religious freedom. This is the CitizenLink Report. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, along with Bruce Housknecht, who follows the courts for Focus on the Family. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, Stuart.
This is no longer hypothetical, and it's no longer the false vision that the president sold the country. Millions of people are now getting notices that their health care is being canceled, but the government says they have to have health care, and the remaining options cost significantly more. NBC News says the administration knew 3 years ago, that the so-called Affordable Care Act would lead to this, even as the president kept promising, quote, if you already have health insurance, you can keep your health insurance. And the latest company with Christian ownership that's suing for religious freedom and losing in the federal courts is called Eden Foods. Tell us about that case.
Yes, it's a small company owned by one man, a Catholic in Michigan. And he challenged the mandate that says he should be providing abortion-causing drugs in his health care benefits for his employees. He said, listen, I incorporate my religious beliefs into my business. I cannot do that. He sought relief in the federal courts, and it went up to the Sixth Circuit that covers 3 Midwestern states, and they said no, you get no mandate, your religious rights have not been infringed, and therefore you have to provide these abortion-causing drugs.
So the summary is, if you're a Christian and you own a business, you have to betray your beliefs or defy the law.
Unfortunately, that's the choice that we're seeing in more and more. There are now over 75 federal lawsuits that have been filed against the HHS mandate, roughly half by these type of for-profit companies owned by people of faith, run as a for-profit business, and the other half are nonprofit religious institutions, religious ministries, newspapers, like the 2 colleges that recently filed lawsuits.
And let's talk about those. They're in 2 different states, but both Christian-oriented colleges.
Right. Dordt College is out of Iowa, Sioux Center, Iowa, and they're joined in a lawsuit in Iowa by a Grand Rapids, Michigan university called Cornerstone University. They both filed together, which they're allowed to do under the federal rules, even though they're in different states, because they have the same lawyers that are representing them.
They are in different districts, different appeals court districts in the country, too, which is
now
notable.
That's true. Now, Cornerstone is in the Sixth Circuit, which has already proven how unfriendly it is toward religious conscience. But Iowa is in the Eighth Circuit, which is very friendly and has granted injunctions in the past for against the enforcement of the mandate. So, Eighth Circuit is where you go if you want your religious freedom protected. Sixth Circuit, you want to stay out of.
That does not sound like a good option for anybody.
No, it isn't. And in fact, the Sixth Circuit decision for Eden was predictable because there's already a case on the books where another for-profit company, AutoCam, was rejected in their request for an injunction against that mandate.
Now, my understanding is we have a couple of cases that have made it up to the Supreme Court, and right now they're on hold. Tell us about the latest on that.
Yes, there are 3 cases now before the Supreme Court where petitions have been filed. These petitions ask the Supreme Court to please hear our appeal. One is out of the Third Circuit in Pennsylvania, that's Conestoga Wood Specialties. Yeah. The Sixth Circuit one is the AutoCam one I just mentioned, and the last one is Hobby Lobby from the 10th Circuit in Colorado. And those 3 have now gone to the Supreme Court. We're waiting to hear whether the Supreme Court will accept those appeals. Now, one of them, the 10th Circuit one, was favorable to religious liberty. The other 2 were not.
And it's notable, we were talking about this before we started here, that Hobby Lobby and the U.S. government are both asking the Supreme Court to hear the case. Even though Hobby Lobby won, they're saying, no, we still want you to hear this. Why would they do that?
That's right. Because they realize how critical, how crucial this issue of religious liberty is, for not just for Hobby Lobby, but for the entire country. Everyone who wants to form a business or even a nonprofit, they need to know whether the federal government is going to choose what their religious beliefs have to be and whether or not our federal government is going to leave us be.
Now, all expectations are, since we have a split in the circuits and it's a very high-level case and there are 75 cases, as you mentioned, in the court system, very likely the Supreme Court will take this up. The question then becomes when. I'm not going to ask you to speculate too much, but what's your thought about how soon we might see this happen?
Yeah, since the petitions are at the Supreme Court, they usually hear those in their private conferences. Within the next month or so, they will probably get those petitions. And we should know, at least by January 1, whether they are going to accept one or more of these cases to be argued probably before the end of April.
Again, it's speculation, but do you suspect the court will bring them together as one case to hear them?
It's possible they will combine both a victory as well as a defeat. Because they get both sides of the argument that way. Yeah. So I would expect them to accept a couple of those cases.
At the heart of all this is about religious freedom and the freedom to hold a pro-life point of view and run a business in the United States of America.
Very important issues. It couldn't be more critical to this country at this time to hear these cases at the intersection of life and religion. It's that important.
All right. Bruce, thank you for the update. Very helpful.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching. We always appreciate hearing from you. You may write us at mail@citizenlink.com. Pray for all of the companies and colleges, Christian business owners who are involved in these more than 75 suits against the federal government seeking their religious freedom as guaranteed under the First Amendment. Pray that they are able to sleep at night and that they're able to give reassurances to the people who work for them that their companies will continue. And remember, stand tall and be heard.